Welcome to Get Your Bell Rung Pro Wrestling Podcast. I am KG, and tonight with me is Robbie Idol, WCW veteran, author of Looking Up at the Lights, and as well as talk radio host, Wrestling Memories, the Grizzle Vet. Gentlemen, how are you doing? I screwed the pooch, man, when the music stopped. I was like, damn it. See, talking about it messed me up. So tonight we're discussing AEW Dynamite, last night's episode, and also the proof that Tony Khan watches his damn podcast, and I will present that proof to you once we get there.
I can't wait to hear this.
Overall last night, AEW, I was like, man, this is going to be a good show. It started off really good for me. Then it kind of hit a brick wall with the match. Then it kind of picked back up a little bit. Last night could have been an amazing show. Instead, I just thought it was a great show. Robbie, your overall thoughts of Dynamite last night?
It was an okay show. They started off like WWE with the promo.
Right.
And here we were giving them credit by going, they have matches, and then all of a sudden we go to a promo. It was an okay show. We'll get into it. One, I want to know, Tony Khan, if you are watching this show, please, I want to know that you, and I will ask the question down the road, because you are wasting your money on this man that you have in your company. if you're paying him 2 cents, it's 2 cents too much. That's my opinion. So,
Grizzle, what did you think about the Dynamite last night, man?
Surprisingly, it kept my attention.
Yep.
It started off, we'll talk about that. And it had its hits and misses, but I'd say overall it was enjoyable. It was entertaining. I wasn't like looking at the clock going, are we done yet? I wasn't fast forwarding through shit. I stuck with it. I actually enjoyed this one. I think Tony Khan did a pretty good job with this one. Some matches better than others, obviously. Some promos better than others.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, the opening promo wasn't one of the better ones. But
Yep. I'm going to start out a little bit because I'm going to get to what I'm talking about when I'm like, I know Tony Khan style watching the show. There was a segment last night, backstage segment with a conglomeration, and they were talking about Roderick Strong taking on Orange Cassidy. Now, yesterday on the podcast, I had the pleasure of interviewing Billy Lindsay. Now, Billy Lindsay is the father of Roderick Strong. I mentioned to Billy Lindsay that as much as I like Roderick Strong as a babyface, I prefer him as a heel. And I said, if Tony Khan is listening, make him a heel. I'll be damned if they didn't plant those seeds deep last night of Roderick Strong now turning heel when he said, for the last time, I'm not part of Conglomerate. And he kind of went off on Orange Cassidy a little bit, walked away, giving the shoulder to Orange Cassidy. So proof, Tony Khan has watched this podcast. He heard me loud and clear. Thank you very much. You don't seem too impressed, Grizzle.
We'll see. Coincidence? I don't know.
No,
you never know what Tony Khan is watching. He's a wrestling nerd like the rest of us.
I like that out of the vet. Just nonchalant.
Right. No, in all actuality, they've been planting those seeds for a while now that Roderick Strong had a problem being part of the conglomerate with him and his partner. He's been the guy that's been very standoffish here lately. So kind of been expecting that he's going to turn heel. And I'm actually expecting that he's going to do something very bad guyish during that match against Orange Cassidy. Let's get into it, though. As we said earlier, AEW, they started off with, instead of a match like they always start off with, instead they start off with a segment. Samoa Joe and Eddie Kingston face-to-face. There's a lot of jabber-jawing going on. I have to be honest, this is just not a match next week that I'm excited about at all. Grizzle, is this a match that you are looking forward to watching?
See, it wasn't. Now I'm gonna say the reason why I didn't like I'll go over why I didn't like the promo. But as far as setting up for the match next week, it got my interest.
Yeah.
Because you had Samoa Joe basically talking down Eddie Kingston. But then Eddie came back and he had that promo where he said, the Samoa Joe that did this,
Mhm.
the Samoa Joe that did that. If you don't bring that Samoa Joe, then I'm gonna, kick your ass all over this ring.
Right.
It got my interest because it built it up. You want to see the old Samoa Joe, and that's what Eddie Kingston is trying to bring out of him. So in that aspect, it actually got me. At first, I wasn't. I'm like Samoa Joe, and I like Eddie Kingston. But I got into it and I thought about it, and the promo actually built up my interest. I'm actually curious to see it now because I liked what Eddie Kingston did. My problem with the promo was they both looked like it was rehearsal before the show even started. Samoa Joe's there, t-shirt, whatever. Eddie comes out wearing a hoodie. They didn't look like stars. They
Right.
looked like guys that were, rehearsing, rehearsing on stage before, the curtain went up.
Yeah.
It looked like it. When a guy comes out with a promo for WWE, even if it's Bronson Reed and all he's wearing is his tribal thief shirt, but he looks intimidating. Neither one of these guys looked it. I liked what he said,
Mhm.
but the way Eddie was dressed didn't come across as like a star. And his voice, for some reason, was really nasally to me. I don't know if that was like a camera thing or an audio thing, whatever. But Eddie Kingston, to me, I always thought kind of sounded a little more, tough guy. This
Right.
one came across very high pitched and nasally. Like I said, I
Yeah.
don't know if it was an audio issue or maybe I'm just being nitpicky. So
Well, I mean,
presentation was my problem with the promo.
in all fairness, though, when has Eddie Kingston ever dressed like he was a star, though? Never.
But true. I mean, you got a point there, but you don't look at Kevin Owens. He comes out wearing
Right.
t-shirts and but it just they didn't come across. It looked like a rehearsal to me. It didn't look like, presentation wise, they were just kind of okay, we're here. What they said was great. The way they presented it was not, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, it does. I used to be an Eddie Kingston fan. I'm just not anymore. Since he's been back, I don't know. There's something about him that I've lost interest in. What I found interesting is last week he basically said Hook was still his boy, but he wasn't really interested in talking about what happened. Now this week he sure as hell seemed like he was a little interested in bringing up the whole Hook situation during this promo. Robbie, what'd you think about this promo? And are you like the Grizzle Vet here that originally you wasn't looking, you was kind of about the match, but because of this promo, even though Grizzle Vet didn't find the presentation very good, it still made him now look forward to this match at which was coming next week.
No, it didn't spark my interest. It came off as boring. It just came off as boring. It didn't catch my interest.
Yeah.
I kind of agree with you. I used to be a Eddie Kingston fan, and now I've kind of like you. I've lost interest in him.
Right.
I was never. The guy's good. He's a good worker and everything like that. Just was never a big fan for whatever reasons. And it just didn't come off good at all. I mean, didn't matter. You could have put them in suits and it still wouldn't have came off. I just kind of thought it was boring. I mean, I will give Eddie Kingston credit though. At least he didn't keep going on. He kind of cut it short. So
right.
He didn't drag it out. He cut it short. But it didn't, I'm not looking forward to the match.
Right. And something I do want to mention, because I forgot to put this down because it was just kind of announced, but the whole it's kind of like a Rumble match, like a Royal Rumble match where you get eliminated. And this is going to be for the Diamond Ring. It's going to be coming up in 2 weeks. I have to tell you guys, we've been, there's been a lot of rumbling about when is MJF going to return. I know he's finished the movie that he was filming. I have a feeling that we're going to see him return in the next 2 to 3 weeks because he has been the holder of the AEW Diamond Ring, whatever they call it. since the very beginning of this. So I'm expecting to see MJF back here the next 2 or 3 weeks. Start with you, Robbie. When he made this announcement, is this what you thought, that we're definitely going to see MJF coming back, or is it something that you didn't even remember that MJF was the holder of the Diamond Ring and who has won it consistently?
No, I knew he was the holder and won it consistently. Kind of, well, I guess we're going to find out the comments that we've seen, that he's either going to stay away from wrestling to make movies. Right. And if you're going to bring him back, I guess that would be the time to bring him back, because, he has been the consecutive winner of that. So I guess we're going to find out if he's coming back or not.
Yep. Yeah. What about you, Grizzle?
I think he's probably going to come back, because he's been, like you said, the holder of and it's the Dynamite Diamond Ring, which is just, okay, the ring you won on Dynamite. But okay. Right. He's been the holder since the beginning of it. And it's always been that the holder of the ring is part of because they're basically trying to defend and getting to keep it. So for that aspect, unless they want to totally blow the lineage of it, as short as it may be, they need to bring him back. He's the holder of it right now.
Yeah, 100%. We get to match number 1, is the Continental Classic tournament, Gold League. It is Okada versus Pac. And this is what I'm saying when I talked about at the beginning of the podcast, that I thought AEW might just be amazing, because they've had some of the matches tonight were really damn good. This match in particular, Okada versus Pac, I really enjoyed it. It was hard hitting. I was a little surprised that Okada actually won. I was kind of expecting they were going with some type of a storyline about Okada starting to lose. We've seen Fletcher beat him on Collision last week, which I think is the only second time his shoulders has been pinned since he's been with AEW. That's what they said, at least. But he picked up the win. Grizzle Vet, what did you think about this match, man?
After the promo that we sat through, then going into this match, this is when I got my interest. This is a great match, because we've seen, Pac and Okada before. As they said during the match, Pac was Okada's first opponent in AEW, and that was what they say, 21 minutes. So you knew it was going to be good. Was it going to go 21 minutes or longer? Who knew? But no, match wise, it's great. But that's the thing, Pac and Okada are great wrestlers. Either one could have won this match, and it would have made sense. And I agree with you. I might have gone with because since Okada's still I'm so confused by that title thing. I don't get it.
I know what. I'm glad you brought this up. And you know what? Let's talk about this right now. Later on in the show, Renee Dupree was interviewing Don Callis, and she asked, "Why didn't you put up?" Paquette. Why didn't you put up the all 4 legs? The other 2 legs. Now, I'm not the smartest cookie in the world, but I thought that these 2 belts were, brought together, basically. That now it was only that one title. But I guess there's 2 separate titles still. So I'm confused about all of this.
Well, they introduced Okada as the unified champion. So he's the unified champion, but he's still the Continental champion and the whatever the other one is. International champion or whatever.
Yeah, like IC title.
Whatever it is. It's still, they introduced him as unified champion, but the Continental champion is still it. So if somebody else wins this championship, there'll be a Continental champion, but Okada will still be the unified champion.
Right. He'll still have the Continental champion. Yeah, he'll still have the Continental belt, which now we're right back to where we were before they decided to unify these belts. I am so fucking confused about this. Robbie, man, you are a pro wrestler, and I know it's professional wrestling, but shit still has to make sense. What's going on with this?
I don't know. I mean, now, here you guys running through this and stuff, because I was wondering the same thing. So I guess, if they're going to crown a new champion, hopefully, and go from there, and one will have one belt and the other guy will have Okada will still have his belt. so you wonder if that's kind of in his contract or whatever, whatever deal Tony Khan has made with him. As far as the match goes, it was good. I was thinking they were going to put Pac over too, and think, okay, Okada's now, got 2 matches, no points, and and either you're going to pull him and make this miraculous comeback or whatever, but they put him over, so he's back in the swing of all this stuff.
Right now, and maybe I'm way off, and I'm wondering if you two kind of thought the same way. When this was presented this way, when Renee was doing this interview with Don Callis, this made me believe that they just gave away the whole damn thing and that we're going to see Okada actually win the whole damn thing to retain. That way he's still the unified title, even though there's apparently 2 damn titles. Grizzle Vet, is that kind of where your thought process went as well, or no?
Yeah, I mean, it did sound a good way. Now, personally, now that I'm thinking about it, I'd rather see somebody else win. Oh, congratulations, you're the Continental Champion. And then Okada comes out and goes, but I'm the Unified Champion. So therefore, they can, have a, and then we can have a unified of the unified belt. So you can have an international, intercontinental, and a continental. We're just going to unify everything. Throw in the international title, or throw in the national title they just created, and just create one big belt, but then next year split it back up into 4 belts, but still have one unified champion.
Right.
I don't know how they're going to make this make sense, which is why I'm kind of curious about how the tournament's going to go.
I am one that often takes up for AEW because I am an AEW fan. And I am one often that says, you know what? Tony Khan has his faults, but hey, he's kind of done a good job somewhat. It's this type of shit that makes it hard to defend Tony Khan. It really, really does. Robbie, same question I asked. Did you kind of, think the same thing that, okay, they just gave away the whole damn thing and Okada is going to be the one that's going to keep it?
Yes. Yeah, total. Yeah. That it, because you're keeping it unified, they're not going to, who knows? I mean, maybe they're going to, like what, Grizzled said, they're going to have, by the time this comes around next year, we're going to have 4 belts and we're going to, whatever. But here, I'll say this, okay, about Tony Khan. Here's, I guess, is what happened. I guess when your dad's got a lot of money and he lets you spend it, another rich kid that just doesn't know what the hell he's doing, and he's got access to money. So, I mean, at some point, you're waiting for his dad to go, you know what? I'm cutting you off, You hope not, just because you want the competition for the WWE to keep them on their toes.
Right. But this is the thing. It's not like it's only Tony Khan back there. As far as I know, Dean Malenko's still back there, right? Amongst many other talented, very smart people. So you have to ask yourself, is Tony Khan so difficult to deal with when it comes to the direction of the show and how it should go, that you have people like Dean Malenko amongst other talent that's back there that's working behind the scenes, that's like, you know what, just let them do whatever? Or is Tony Khan just not listening to them? Or I guess you could even say, are they even speaking up for that matter? Your thoughts on that, Grizzle?
Well, it's simple. Tony Khan's name is on the paycheck.
Right.
If I'm Dean Malenko or I'm, Jeff Jarrett, whoever's back there, I know whose name is on my paycheck. I know who's getting paid. You're going to kind of, if Tony wants to do this is what Tony's going to do. Does Tony need somebody back there to kind of rein him in and be like, okay, you unified this belt. You can't split it apart and still have a unified champion, blah, blah, blah. Maybe it could be the Continental Classic Tournament or the Classic Tournament for the unified Continental whatever title, but still have it be one belt. Does he need somebody to rein him in? Yes. Does he need somebody to kind of have a sounding board? Yes. Does he have one? No. It looks like Tony does what Tony wants to do. He has we've all heard about his notebooks from back when he was a kid where he'd book all these shows, and that's what he's doing now. But like I said, Tony Khan's name's on the paycheck.
Right.
I don't know about you guys. I have a job. I know who's on my paycheck. So if they say, hey, you got to do this. Do I want to do it? No. Am I going to do it? Yeah, probably, because I know where my paycheck's coming from.
Right. But to your point, and I'm going to ask you, Robbie, and the Grizzle Vet's right. Tony Khan signs a check. But when it comes to professional wrestling, your name means something, especially if you're a well-known, right? Your name, especially when it comes to the legacy of who you were. For yourself, would it be a matter of whatever, it's Khan's name on the check, so therefore whatever he wants? Or would you take the stance of, you know what, my name means something in this business, and I don't want to be tied as someone that is part of this, some of this terrible planning that's going on?
You would think, I mean, if you're, like Dean Malenko and Jeff Jarrett, whoever's back there. So like Jeff Jarrett, Malenko, those are big names. So, if you're trying to reel Tony in and he's not, listening to you and stuff. Yeah. I mean, because, look at how long Dean Malenko's been in the business. Look at how long Jeff Jarrett's been in the business from their background and stuff. And think about this, how many, we all, even me as an enhancement guy, we all have that ego in us.
Mm-hmm.
So you're like what you're saying, this is the product. And if I know that my name is out there, and they're knowing, okay, I'm in the back and I'm part of creative or whatever I'm part of. Yes, even though Tony's signing the checks, I would try to reel them in and say, hey, this ain't making sense here, Tony. You gotta, here's what we need to do. I can't imagine. Well, again, I take that back. I was going to say that they don't need the money, but who knows?
Right.
We know professional athletes, so we all some are set, some aren't set. So, maybe that's part of the reason why they're not speaking up is like, okay, I need this job and it's a paycheck,
Right.
But as far as like what you're saying is with your name being tied to it and stuff, yes. I mean, if I was with a background of a Jeff Jarrett, Dean Malenko, or whoever else is back there, and if they were a big name, and knowing the experience, and saying, you'd have to look at Tony and say, come on, Tony, this ain't making sense.
Right. Yeah. Yep. I agree. Next is that Diane Callis short backstage interview with Renee Paquette. So we don't need to go over that. The next match, and for myself, this was the damn match of the night. I'm talking about another Continental Classic tournament match, the Gold League, Kyle Fletcher versus Kevin Knight. My God, in my opinion, they stole the show. Look, Kevin Knight and Speedball Mike Bailey, they're a fine tag team. I'm not going to take that away. They really are. I think they work well together. But Kevin Knight needs to be a singles wrestler because this man is just so damn good. And look, just knowing that it was a match with Kyle Fletcher and Kevin Knight, you knew the match was going to be good. I wasn't expecting it to be this good. This was, in my opinion, a pay-per-view caliber match that they put on last night. Start with you, Robbie. Am I just more excited than what you are about this match? Or am I dead right that this was absolutely the match of the night, and this was definitely a pay-per-view caliber match that they put on last night?
No, I totally agree with you because both of them are good. I mean, I like Kyle Fletcher way back when he first came in with his tag partner and stuff. And now seeing this, this kid, Jet Williams, he's the real deal. He looks good and everything. And it was, to me, I think that was the best match. It was, I would say, a pay-per-view caliber match. Other than, if you go back and the only bad move that Kyle Fletcher did is that power bomb with Adam Cole, that other than that, Fletcher's been on. I mean, the kid, he's good. These probably are two of your top guys in that company. I mean, the kid, I'm very impressed with Williams.
Right.
He just some of the stuff he does is, unbelievable. And they both had they both worked well together, had a great match. And it was, to me, I agree with you, it was the match of the night.
Yeah. Grizzle Vet, did you like the match as much as we did? And did they make the right decision by having Kyle Fletcher win this match?
I agree with both of you. It was a great match. Was it match of the night for me, though? No, that was not match of the night for me. For me, match of the night goes to the match we saw at the beginning of the show. I like Pac and Okada more than this one. Not by much. It was close, right, but this wasn't quite match of
the night.
You know what?
I can accept great that. Match, as long as you didn't say your match of the night was one of the I think it was actually the next match that we're going to get into, which was the Women's World Title tag tournament semifinalists, the Holiday Death Match. We'll go to, and we'll talk about it. As long as it wasn't that match, because I was afraid you were going to say that match. I swear to you, I was going to kick you off if you did.
I would have to agree with you on
what it was. I enjoyed that match, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. I thought that one was fun. I had no issue with it. But no, this is a great match, and I'm totally with Kyle Fletcher going. I think Kyle Fletcher in a year could be a guy that's going for the AEW World Title. I think he's that damn good.
Right.
He's young and all that. So no, giving him the win. Who knows? Maybe he could win this tournament.
Yep. Now it was after the match that kind of let the air out for me a little bit. I wish they would have done it at some other point. They didn't. It's whatever. It's Don Callis comes in, he takes the mic, he calls this guy in, they bring them the money that he took from the Young Bucks. He calls Young Bucks out. It hits Mac and Nick Jackson rushes to the ring. We see a big brawl come out. The number of games were there, though. So who comes to help them? Of course, it is the Jack Perry and Luchasaurus. The numbers are still too big. And then we see, what's his name again?
Kenny Omega.
Kenny Omega come out. Now, this was silly for me. When Kenny Omega came out, was he rushing to the ring right away? No, he wasn't. He came through the curtains, did his little whatever he did, took a few steps, and then decided, oh shit, I need to get there because these guys are getting their ass kicked. It was okay, but for me, it took the air out of that amazing match we just seen. Start with you, Grizzle. What did you think of this whole chaos that happened right after the match?
Anything involving Don Callis and the Callis family erupts into chaos. Because we've said it so many times before, there's so many freaking people in the Don Callis family. It's just, you're outnumbered no matter what. There's so many of them.
Right.
And this is setting up. We're going to get the Young Bucks, Jurassic Express, and Kenny Omega versus, we're going to get this 10-man tag thing or a 10-man Survivor Series style match. They want to rip off the WWE. Something's going to happen at World's End, and the Young Bucks are going to get those bags of money back from Don Callis. That's what it's leading to. We're going to get the fucking money back in some weird 10-man style match. That's what this is all leading up to. Yep.
What about you, Robbie?
No, I agree. And here, now I can throw in my point. Tony Khan with Don Callis. Don Callis brings absolutely nothing to the table. He's horrible. Why he's there, don't know. But if you are watching the show, Tony, please answer me. Why the hell this man is there? He's horrible.
Chris Jericho brought him in.
Huh?
That's one of Jericho's
all right, well,
running
Chris, I kind of lost a little respect for you on this one, Jericho. But he's horrible. He sits in on the mic and his comments are dumbass comments and stuff. He gets in there and the same, like he got involved in the fight, and we know nothing is going to happen to Don Callis down the road, which is to me total bullshit. Like if you look, okay, they'll go, well, but back in our day when managers got involved, there was a consequence,
right?
And that nothing's going to happen to him. And I mean, okay, he's allowed to jump in there, throw his shitty ass punches and whatever he does, or bring his screwdriver and stuff. I just want to see someone beat the holy hell out of him and make him go away for a little bit. But I just don't think he brings anything to the table. But yeah, it definitely took the sales out.
Yeah.
See, I disagree. I think Don Callis is good with what he does, because some of the guys in the family don't need to talk. They need somebody to talk for them. Don Callis, I think, is great on a mic. And talking about Jericho, Lance Storm, I think Rhino, they all broke into the business at the same time in Canada. That's why I said that's one of Jericho's running buddies. He's been
bad news bound. Bad news bound. Yeah. And
if you go look at old footage, Don Callis actually was a decent wrestler at one point, but now he doesn't. This is back when he first started. He was decent.
Right.
Then he got into managing, because we've all seen it before. He was the network on ECW for TNN. He was the network affiliate. Yep. Obviously, in WWE, he was the leader of the Truth Commission thing, whatever. So he just kind of evolved to becoming a manager, and we forgot that he was an okay wrestler in the beginning. Now you couldn't picture Don Callis wrestling to save your life, but as far as talking on the mic, he can do a good promo for the guys in his group that can't talk, and some of them should. Yeah.
Look, on the bright side of all of this, Robbie, he didn't bring in his fucking painting. Okay. So there's a silver lining with that. Okay. Next, and guys, I apologize. We may go out of order a little bit. I watched this at 4 a.m. I realized there's a couple of backstage segments that I missed, or at least one more. And so that's why I'm thinking about it. The Mercedes Moné backstage segment with Renee saying, how do you feel? You once again lost trying to get that world title again away from the alien girl. What is her name? Grizzlevet?
Chris Statlander.
Chris Statlander. And Mercedes Moné took offense to that. I guess, once again, the next match she's going to be going defending the ROH title against Red Velvet. That's going to be a hell of a match. The first was a hell of a match. She told Red Velvet that since she accuses her of never being on Ring of Honor, to check her out Friday night, she's going to be there fighting Grizzlevet. Oh, no, Robbie, what did you think of this whole segment? And is Moné being on Ring of Honor Friday for, I can't the name of their special.
Final Battle, and you can watch it, ringofhonor.com, I think they said. Are you going to tune in?
No, I won't tune in. And you probably should have went to the vet, because this one, I cannot do Mercedes. Okay. I had to fast forward through it. So she's brutal. I can't deal with her.
Robbie, I'm going to be honest with you. I'm going to disagree with you a little bit. This segment, this interview, Mercedes Moné, she didn't have a whole lot of makeup done on her. She was almost dressed normal as far as not having, she normally wears too much makeup, in my opinion. I think this is one of the best she's looked on camera during an interview.
Well, I'm not talking about that.
I know. Yeah, I know. I'm getting there though. Now, the match, her against Red Velvet, I'm going to be honest. I'm looking forward to this match because the last time they met to quote unquote unify the title, and I say quote unquote because we see what happened with the other unified title, but that was one hell of a match. It really was. So I am looking forward to this match. Grizzlevet, will you be watching on Friday nights? And do you agree with me about the match against Red Velvet, that this is going to be another one hell of a match?
I'm going to kind of agree with both of you. I don't like being force-fed Mercedes Moné, so I'm going to be with Robbie on that one. I'm not a fan of being force-fed,
right.
And I just don't get the whole fascination. Now, her in-ring work, okay, decent. Am I going to watch the Red Velvet match against our Final Battle? Yes. Am I going to watch it live as it happens? No, because I will be on the air with you two tomorrow night talking about whatever they do on SmackDown. So I will watch it later.
Yeah. Now her against Red Velvet, I don't think it's going to be Final Battle because she told Red Velvet to watch her on.
Okay.
I'm
still going to watch Final Battle.
Yeah, it's going to be right. It's going to be a
like
collision
Robbie.
match.
As soon as I saw her on the TV start talking, I went,
yeah.
Oh,
now,
okay. I finished my coffee and got one of my kids ready.
The one thing that does get on my nerves, and I think it's so damn silly, and I want them to stop doing it, is the whole Ultimo Renee, right? Stop. There's only one Ultimo. That's Ultimo Dragon.
Oh, the Ultimone or whatever they call it.
Yeah. So stop that crap. It's absolutely silly. I think her having a 13 belts, that many belts has made her, for many people, mockery because of that. I think it hurts her instead of helping her. So she needs to definitely drop some of the belts, in my opinion.
Mercedes Moné versus Red Velvet for the ROH Women's Championship.
Really?
On the Final Battle tomorrow night. Yep.
That's so strange. Her statement when she said, "Watch me, I'm going to be on ROH." Unless is ROH on tonight?
No, tomorrow night. Final Battle. I'm looking at it right here.
Weird. That's a weird statement.
So it actually has a decent line. Maybe after we do this review, I'll have to go over the lineup with you. But the lineup for this doesn't look that bad.
Yeah, go ahead. Talk about it now.
We got Ricochet versus Dalton Castle for the AEW National Championship.
Yep.
Should be decent. Deonna Purrazzo versus Billy Starks for the inaugural ROH Women's Pure Championship. So obviously this is Tony Khan in action. We're getting a lot of belts. Athena versus Persephone. That should be decent. Shane Taylor Promotions versus Skyflight. Bandito versus Blake Christian versus the Beast Mortos versus Sammy Guevara versus Commander versus Hechicero in a Survival of the Fittest match.
That's going to be a good match.
That's going to be a great match.
Yeah.
Mercedes Moné versus Red Velvet. LFI, the left faction them, versus Dynamite Kid, Tommy Billington, Adam Priest. And then a 30-minute Iron Man match, Lee Moriarty versus Nigel McGuinness.
Yes,
overall,
I tell you,
not a bad card.
You talking about the Dynamite Kid, what was his name again?
Tommy Billington.
Yeah. I was actually seeing him for the first time. I think it might have been last week on Collision. I didn't even know he was with AEW or Ring of Honor, to be honest with you. And I tell you, he's not bad. I enjoyed that match that he was in. It was a tag team match, but nonetheless, it was a decent match.
He's been there for a few months now, actually.
Really?
He's done some Collision, then he's done mainly Ring of Honor. But yeah, he's been there for a few months now.
Yeah, I have just recently started watching Collision again. I never watched Ring of Honor for whatever reason.
I'll watch the pay-per-views. That's it.
Yeah. Robbie, have you had the opportunity to see him?
No, I haven't.
He looks just like his dad.
Okay. For whatever reasons, I don't have Ring of Honor, or the channel to get it. So and in the past though, I got that one. I got it now. It took me a second.
Like I said, I don't only watch the pay-per-views. I don't subscribe to the ROH Club.
I used to watch Ring of Honor just because, I had some connections with Roderick and stuff like that.
Oh, don't get me wrong, Robbie. Look.
Yeah, no.
The Ring of Honor now that Tony Khan owns it,
okay,
I very much compare it to what ECW became when Vince McMahon bought it and it was affiliated with WWE. They still had their good moments, but they're not the original at all whatsoever.
It's
ROH in letters only.
Right.
Okay. Right. So kind of, and probably what's happening with TNA with WWE owning it.
They don't own it yet.
No.
Oh,
okay, so they're just kind of
right.
They have the talent exchange thing, which is going to continue as they go on to AMC, which I think is interesting.
I was just about to say that they just got to deal with AMC, so I'm very curious. It's going to be on Thursday nights, and I think it's at 9 p.m. Eastern time.
Yeah, same time it was on Access. They're not changing the time. What they're changing is networks and doubling their households.
Now, I I was
AMC reaches
surprised.
40 million.
I was surprised. I was surprised by the night they put it on because all the rumors, and granted, there were rumors, but sometimes there's truth in rumors. But there was a lot of people saying that they were going to put it on Wednesday nights to go head to head with AEW. And I'll be honest with you, if that happened, I would have to say that I think TNA would have the slight edge over AEW if that happened. So I was glad to see that they put them on Thursday nights instead of Wednesday nights.
Well, they kept them on Thursday nights.
Well, they kept them. Right. Yeah.
I mean, if you look at it, you got Monday Night Raw, Tuesday night NXT, Wednesday night Dynamite, Thursday night TNA, Friday night SmackDown, Saturday night Collision. The only time we don't have a show is on Sunday.
Yeah.
You can have a show 7 days a damn week if somebody wants to put something on Sunday. I hope I didn't give anybody any ideas.
Yeah. And you know, the only reason why we cover SmackDown, Raw, and Dynamite is because I love being married to my wife. And if I started covering everything, she'd be like, I'm done. Bye. Too much wrestling.
Oh, she would not.
You know, there's a lot of wrestling going on. And look, this is a great time to be a wrestling fan. This is why I cannot, for the sake of me, understand the tribalism and all these people that either want to see AEW out of business, want to see WWE go. It's like, why? Why does one have to go out of business? Why can't we just be wrestling fans and be like, God, it's awesome to be a wrestling fan? Because we're all about the same age, within maybe 5 to 10 years, right? Back in the day, we were lucky if we got it 2 nights a week, much less what we have now.
Right. But, and to think like now, think about when back in the day, like me being down here in Florida, I got just Florida Championship Wrestling.
Right.
So you didn't see it. And if you wanted to know anything about any of the other guys, you had to, you had to get Pro Wrestling Illustrated, the magazine and stuff like that. And that's how you learned about the other people, because you didn't get those networks,
Oh, absolutely.
And unless they came in, unless guys came here to Florida or whatever, because I remember like going on vacation and being in Georgia and turned on and it's like, wow, there's Georgia Championship Wrestling or whatever. And then you'd see some guys and you'd see some of the guys from Florida, but, you'd see a totally different crew.
No, 100%. I mean, for the longest time until we got cable, I was about 13 when we got cable. It was Mid-South Wrestling that we used to get on Channel 26 in Louisiana. And I knew there were other wrestling because I would, quote unquote, buy the magazines when I was a kid, right? And then cable came, and that's why I was introduced to WWF and Georgia Championship Wrestling. Now, and I've said this many times, I really wasn't into WWF, but Georgia Championship Wrestling, I was into, but it made sense because the whole NWA thing, right? That kind of lined up with the Mid-South and Georgia and, the NWA title. But yeah, Grizzle, I mean, look, and we'll get back to covering AEW, but why do we have to have fans that have gotten into this tribalism thing that one business has to go out of business in order for them to be happy? I don't, instead of them celebrating the amount of wrestling we have these days.
Because they're not actual fans. They're just,
exactly
computer words, I'll watch a little bit of everything. I mean, I'll go on there, look on Tubi. I'll watch old classic stuff. I'll go on to, I will watch, now that it's on AMC, I'm probably more likely to watch TNA because I know where to find it. I never can find access on my cable. I know I have it, but I always have to search for it. And then I'm old and I forget the channel number. And the next week I guess go, fuck it. But as far as all the options going, I'm going to kind of throw this question at Robbie. Back in your heyday, your prime, you were wrestling. Wouldn't this have been something that you as a talent would have like just salivated over, to have all these different places to go to? Your WWE, your Evolve, your TNA, your AEW. Wouldn't this have been, as a wrestler, something you would have loved? Because there were so many freaking opportunities, and that's how you got to look at it.
Right, and that's you kind of stole the thunder I was going to go with, but I'm glad. Yes, and I mean, like for a fan to say, "Oh, I want to see so and so go out of business or whatever," but as a wrestler, now you have all this different, you have options. You know, like, okay, I wish I had that back in the day. And I mean, I guess you had the different territories. My case, I didn't know how to get to different territories because I've had a couple buddies that have said, oh man, if you'd have went to Portland or if you'd have went to Tennessee, you probably could have been a bigger star than what you were, or, you know, could have went here. But, you know, like knowing now that you have all this access to stuff and you're not, let's say you're here in WWE, you're not happy, you got the contract, you wait till it runs out, and as you can kind of shop yourself around and see, okay, wow, Tony Khan's interested in me, AAAU or whatever they you know, they're all the different places. Okay, wow, they're showing some interest, so let me talk to them, whatever. Yeah, as a talent, you know, God, I wish I would have had that, but like I said, it was there. I had no idea how to get to those places. Today with, you know, social media, computer access, everything like that, you know, there's opportunities for all these guys. So yes, and for like fans to say, oh, I want to see them go out. Why? I mean, if you don't like a product, don't watch the product. You know, I mean, with all these different shows and everything, there's something for everybody. But
Yeah,
as far as talent goes, like for the workers, that's, you know, that's what you want, you know, because at least you can shop yourself everywhere.
yeah.
And
Look,
it's not even the big name TV stuff, though. You know, you can look at the indies the way it is now. You're talking back in the day, you had territories. Look at the indies now. Right where I'm at here in Fort Worth, within probably, I'd say if I wanted to drive around within like a couple hours, there's like 8 different groups I could go see on a weekly basis and hit up. And a lot of them use the same guys. These guys are able to work, you know, 2-3 nights a weekend because they're able to travel a loop that's like 3 or 4 hours. And then they're able to go over into Oklahoma. They're able to go into Louisiana. There's just so much indie wise too.
right. And AEW allows their people, which I think is kind of stupid, because if they get hurt during the indie show, you're messing up your big dollars, you know, the money you're making. But nonetheless, AEW allows their wrestlers to do indie shows. Matter of fact, Top Flight comes here. They're from Minnesota. They come here often and appear on some indie shows. But you know what I find interesting, and why I laugh at the internet of the IWC crowd, is as much as they shit on the whatever products that they are wanting to see go out of business, they sure do know a whole lot of what's going on all of these products. So the ones they claim that they don't watch, it's like, well, how do you know what happened if you're not watching? Yeah, and I know there's the highlights and shit, but they know way too much about the episodes to have just gone over the highlights of the episode. And that's why I don't get it. Instead of acting like you hate out of it, just say, man, again, this is a great time to be a pro wrestling fan.
Right. But
You
I
ever
mean,
listen to the I'm sorry. Go ahead, Robbie.
no, go ahead. You go ahead.
I was just going to make a smart ass comment. You ever
Okay.
listen to the Jim Cornette podcast, Jim Cornette Experience? You remember his closing theme that he used to play? Wednesday nights, I get to stay up late, watch Kenny Omega while I'm
Right.
That's those people. That's all they're doing. They're watching AEW going, oh, here comes Kenny Omega.
Right.
Wow. You know, that's what they are, and they're all about just AEW. And unfortunately, there's so many of them, and they have this thing called social media where they can make their voices so goddamn loud we can't fucking ignore them.
Yeah. Now, don't be mistaken. WWE, there's some quote unquote WWE fans that are just as bad as the AEW as well.
All of them. But
right.
Look what he was saying with the indies because now some of the indies, they're making money. So you look at like a Matt Cardona.
Yeah.
Look at, like, I guess now he's with TNA, but whatever. But now you look Shotzi out there on the indies, Gigi Dolan or Priscilla, you know, some of them. So they've gone and they're making a living out of it on the indies, where like when back in the day on the indie circuit, they weren't paying any of us, you know, like, and you used it though, because, you know, the most, like some of us you were lucky if some guys were paying you $100, that was way, you know, way overboard. But most of the time you were lucky you'd get $25, $50, but you used that because, you know, you were main event. They'd let you go 30 minutes, 45 minutes. So you got to showcase your talent, hone in on your craft, you know, do stuff like that. So it, you know, where people will go, okay, wow, you didn't make any money. No, but you got to showcase your talent. It was kind of, you know, you got better at your talent.
Right. Now, you know, for me being out and about so much, attending a lot of the indie shows here in Minnesota and talking to a lot of these indie guys, you know, it seems like the average pay today to perform is between $50 to $100 a match is about what they're making. But going back to Mercedes Moné, right? Yeah, we find it silly that she has so many belts, but some of these belts that she's holding are belts from some of these smaller indie promotions. And I mean, you have to imagine that we may find it silly, but having her name as their world champion or whatever belt it is, it helps. It has to help. Grizzle?
Well, yeah, because, you know, look at an indie poster promotion. What do you see on it? You know, you'll see a picture of this guy as seen on AEW. You'll see a picture of this person as seen on Evolve.
Right.
Promoters ain't stupid. They know, hey, we're booking these guys. They're working our shows. They're holding our belts. And now we can put as seen on, and people are going to go, oh. So, yeah, I think, you know, Mercedes Moné just did she didn't wrestle, but she did an appearance here at a women's show in Bedford, which is about 20 minutes from me. Athena hosted the show. Mercedes Moné made an appearance. Nobody expected it. It was a surprise appearance, but she was here about 20 minutes away from me. You know, Robbie mentioned Shotzi. I've worked on shows that Shotzi was wrestling at, so I've gotten to, you know, talk to Shotzi in person, and she's a wonderful person. Yeah. You know, so, but yeah, no, the indie scenes are just, they're great, and guys come out of the indie scene right now. A guy who worked the indie scene around here and was making a name for himself is holding the NXT World Heavyweight Championship. You know, Ricky Saints was one of our guys around here.
Yeah. Yep. And that's nice. I want to give a shout out as well to NWA. Look, you're talking about, you know, some of the wrestling that you're able to catch now that you've discovered or whatnot. Look on Roku channel, you know, I love watching. There's the NWA, I think it's called the Power Hour. I'm not real sure.
NWA Power, or Power.
Yeah. But it's constant, you know, and it's awesome because, again, I'm an NWA guy. And now being able to watch NWA, you know, what's happening currently on Roku. That's awesome. But that brings up another point, and then we'll get back to finish up AEW. Yeah. Is another big difference is, you know, just about all of your indie promotions now, they have YouTube and they have their YouTube channel. So now you can also kind of reach people out of the area that normally wouldn't be able to see you, because, you know, these guys don't have TV deals, but YouTube's a pretty big damn deal. I mean, you have millions of people that watch YouTube, so you even have that helping them out. Or am I wrong? YouTube isn't, you know, as big as what I think it is. That's helping promote these indie guys. Go with you, Grizzle.
No, YouTube's huge. There's a group up in Oregon called Prestige. They stream their shows live on YouTube. That's how I can see some of my buddies that I know from, you know, Pacific Northwest, you know, when I lived in California. So no, it's huge. It's a way to watch it. I just bring it up on my TV out in the living room. YouTube, it's on my cable box. You know, bring it up, type it in, and I get to watch a live stream of it. No, live streaming on YouTube is a hell of a way to get your product out there.
Yeah. And by the way, speaking of, guys, you know, those who are watching on Sunday nights, check out SICW out of Missouri or Kansas, I think, or St. Louis. Yeah, they are St. Louis. Yep. And look, Herb Simmons, this guy is a promoter, is one of the longest promoters that is still alive. I mean, this guy's been doing it 50 plus years. He's an amazing guy. He's a friend of mine. And, you know, if you guys like old school wrestling, that's what he puts on, old school type style matches. Absolutely great. Next, we go to Mark Briscoe's promo backstage. He's talking about Daniel Garcia. He basically says in a nutshell, I used to like Danny Garcia. I respected him. I thought that he had a lot of talent. He was heading down the right road, but now not so much. He challenged him. He wants to fight him. I think this is going to be a good match when they do face one another. Robbie, start with you. Is this a match that you're interested in?
Not really. I mean, but but I agree with you. It will be a good match. I mean, Garcia is not a bad worker. Do I agree with Moxley? He's the future of pro wrestling. I don't know. And Briscoe, Briscoe is Briscoe. I mean, so the promo was a little long for me, and maybe that's why, about the match. But it'll be a good match.
Yeah. What about you, Grizzle?
It's going to be a good match. I'm not a big Daniel Garcia guy because when he first showed up, we were force-fed Daniel Garcia. He was everywhere. I kept it. But, as I've said before, and, Bob isn't here to bust my balls on this one. I love Mark Briscoe. If you want to look at a guy that fans can get behind, it's Mark Briscoe because even as that is the most common, fan guy you're going to find right now. You can still call him a chicken farmer because that's exactly what he fucking does. He's not putting on airs. He's not pretending to be something he's not. He's just a good old redneck motherfucking country boy.
He is today's Cactus Jack, in my opinion.
That's a good way to put it. And he likes to fight, so he makes it believable. That's why I like Mark Briscoe. He's believable. He's missing some teeth. Kingston, we mentioned him earlier. I like him. But does he look like a guy like if there's an actual fight? No. Mark Briscoe, you could see him going into a fight with somebody and just starting, busting a chair and using pieces of it to beat the shit out of the guy. That's just how Briscoe comes across. And I like it.
Yeah. And when I mentioned Cactus Jack, I'm not talking about Mick Foley, what's he got to WWE. I'm talking about the Cactus Jack I was introduced to in Mid-South Wrestling. Reminds me of that era. Cactus Jack.
Well, yeah, and World Class Devastation Incorporated with that type of stuff when he was with Gary Young.
Yeah,
a young Cactus Jack, a slim Cactus Jack.
Yeah, absolutely. Next, I think was probably my personal favorite backstage segment, which is the FTR promo. Dax Harwood, Cash Wheeler, of course, accompanied by Stokely. They cut a promo about the tag team scene. They referenced last week's confrontation with the Bang Bang Gang, Juice Robinson and Austin Gunn, and mocked them for wanting to win the titles for the boys on the injured list. Harwood dares Gunn Robinson to show up on Collision and put their hands on his title one more time. I like this. I'm kind of digging this feud between these four gentlemen. Grizzle.
I would rather see Austin with his brother. I want to see the gun. I want to see the Guns.
Right.
I don't mind the Bang Bang Gang, but I like Austin, Colton, Gunn. I like the brothers better as a team. Right. I'd like to see that. But no, it's going to be a good match because it's a good team. But unfortunately, with so many blessed injuries, you never know who's in it. I mean, I think it was Colton. Is he injured now or he was injured? Juice Robinson was out for a while. Switchblade, Jay White, he was out for a while. So they never can really get any momentum just because of injuries, but they're a good group and it's a good team. I mean, there's you can interchange the guys.
Yep.
Would I rather see the Guns? Yes, but I'm happy with this.
Here's a question for both you guys. Is it just me? Or see, I'm a big Juice Robinson fan, right? But I prefer Juice Robinson before he got injured. It was gone for a while. It came back. To me, there's just something different about him. The Juice Robinson before he left, he was kind of crazy, unpredictable, kind of a wild man. And it seems like he's more, what's the word I'm looking for? He's not as wild. He's not as predictable as he was. Robbie, is this me seeing something that's not there, or is there a difference in his character?
Yeah, no, totally agree with you. Yeah, because I kind of thought the same thing. They kind of toned him down. So you wonder if it was his choosing because supposedly through AEW, everybody has their own creative or they're allowed to put their input. So, but yeah, I like the one that was the Juice Robinson before he was injured, because it's almost like it's kind of a tone down. And I, agree with the vet here about, I'd rather see the Gunn brothers than Juice on this one, but it is what it is.
Right. One vignette that I skipped was the vignette with, let me look for it in here because I can never remember her name, the Death Dolls or the whatever they call themselves, with Haley. Let me see if I find it.
Oh, was it? It's God, what I'm trying to think. Is it the blonde they threw in with Sky Blue and
No, that's Sky Blue. It's oh, son of a bitch. They just won their last match.
Babe Zarath?
Was that?
Babe Zarath? Harley Cameron and Willow Nightingale?
Yes, them two. They did a vignette. Look, I'm just not into this team at all. And the way they're pushing them, I feel like we're being force fed them. To me, they're also giving away the tournament that they're the ones that's going to take it. I feel like it's going to be those all two against the Love Bombs. Go ahead, Grizzle.
See, I'm kind of impressed with it. I never thought the Babes of Wrath were because they were throwing in women together as a team. Right. We all were thinking Sisters of Sin, Marina Shafir and Megan Bain. We were looking at them. Right. And then, I obviously said Tony and Mina Shirakawa, and goddamn it, my team that I picked is in the finals. So we'll see what happens. Yeah. But for some reason, Harley and Willow kind of bonded together and became the Babes of Wrath, and I like it. I think it's fun. I'm looking forward to the finals because now, I think it could go either way, especially considering what happened in the match that we haven't discussed yet.
Right. And look, don't get me wrong. I think they mesh well together. I think that they entertain a lot of fans in the ring. They are your true babyface type style team. I just can't get into them for whatever reason. Robbie, what is your thoughts on this, man? And do you agree that because of how much it seems like they're pushing them on us, that they're kind of giving away the tournament, that they're the ones that are going to take the titles?
But if you remember, I'm the only one on the panel that did say the Babes of Wrath.
You were.
Okay. So if they win it, I like Harley Cameron and I like Willow. I do agree with you a little bit that, they kind of, the Bailey thing, the early Bailey, but I like them. I like Willow. For her size, I think she's very good. She moves around and, she's good for a big girl and stuff like that. And I think Harley Cameron's improved so much from when she started. And just, she's comical and stuff like that. So I'm glad to see they've kind of pushed her and kind of let her do, like she's kind of, I guess, from WWE, the one they just threw the belt on. What's her, the blonde that beat Becky?
Maxwell Dupree.
Okay, I was going to call her Megan, and it's it's Maxwell. Yeah. She's kind of reminds me of her that in the beginning was kind of rough and stuff, and now but now that she's got able to work and stuff like that has just improved so much. Out of these two, I definitely would love to see them over Tony and and I am a Tony Storm fan. I'm not a Shirakawa fan. I don't like the dancing and stuff. And now you got Tony dancing and stuff. I like Tony Storm, but I can do without all this dancing stuff.
Yeah, you see, you guys know me. I like my professional wrestling like I like my hamburgers. Hold the fucking cheese. I don't like a whole lot of cheese in it. Next, we are going to that match, the AEW Women's World Tag Tournament semifinalists, Holiday Death Match, Timeless Love Bombs, Tony Storm and Mina Shirakawa versus Mega Problems, Marina Shafir and Megan Bain. And sorry, guys, if you guys don't agree with me, but this was my least favorite match of the night. It was entertaining. Yes, I will agree. Just didn't like it, though. And I would prefer to see Marina Shafira and Megan Bayne take the win. Instead, it was the Timeless Love Bombs of Tony Storm and Mina Shirakawa who actually won the match. Did they get this match right, Grizzle Vet? And did you like this match?
I enjoyed this match. This is not the worst match of the night. That for me, that one is coming up in a minute. I enjoyed the match. It's what I've always said before. Tony can book chaos. Tony can book hardcore stuff and just let people go, and that's kind of what he did. You know, I mean, we've now found another effective use of a stapler. I thought that was kind of entertaining. Maybe not for Tony Storm, but no, I think they got it right. I picked the Timeless Love Bombs from the beginning, but for me, why I'm saying I think they have the one to take it is because they added in an element of Tony Storm that's been missing since All In, and that's when Santa Claus showed up with her present for the Mega Problems. And what was it? Look out for the shoe. And he took off the mask, and Luther is back.
It was
now
terrible.
She's got her butler back. It's that missing Tony Storm. Timeless Tony Storm has that one little element, and it was Luther. Right. That kind of added to her character. She's got Luther back. Luther is going to be in the corner with him, I'm pretty sure. And I think that might give them just that edge. Because Tony Storm with Luther, I loved the stuff they would do because he was very dignified, but it was always look out for the shoe. And she's got her shoe back. Because remember, it was always, tits out and watch out for the shoe. Yes. That one little piece that was missing came back last night. And Luther's a friend of mine. I've known him for, I met him like 20 years ago. So I'm happy to see him back.
Why has he not been a guest on the podcast?
I could reach out to him. But I think there might be some Tony Khan contractual stuff on that one. But
if Tony Khan allows them to perform in indie shows, risking his talent, right? That's where he draws the line.
Well, you never know. You never know with the interview things because questions and what are you going to ask him and stuff like that. But anyways, no. As far as the match goes, I enjoyed it. I thought it was fun, and it was just that added element that Tony had. Tony has her goddamn shoe back. Yeah. So Willow and Harley better watch out for the shoe.
Robbie, this was the match I was excited to talk to you about because of your love of hardcore, because you were a hardcore wrestler. One of the issues that I had was the gimmick name of the match, a holiday death match, far from a death match, number one. Number two, I was not a big fan of the whole Timeless Tony Storm thing with Luther. At first, it grew on me. I became a fan of it. For myself, though, it has ran its course, in my opinion. Robbie, what say you?
I like her with Luther. I'm not a fan of her with Shirakawa. We know the reasons why, but whatever. But when Santa came down, you knew it was Luther. I mean, you had to know it was Luther unless you lived under a rock. To me, it kind of fell flat. It was an okay match.
But it wasn't a death match.
Right, but it's a death match, and so they had the barbed wire, whatever.
Not draw the peppermint.
Okay, so and now you put it in, I think it was Megan Bayne's mouth or whatever. So now there's no blood coming out of your mouth. No, it just certain things fell flat that they were doing.
Stapled.
Right, but I'm just saying some of that stuff kind of fell flat though. But my problem is you're trying to make Marina look like this total badass, and yet she's the one, and I get with the shoe and stuff like that. So you kind of took her out with it, but still, they're trying to make her look strong, but in a way they've kind of taken away from her on that stuff, and that's I have an issue with that. Shoe. Well, I said the shoe, but still, they've kind of fell flat with certain stuff, and you're trying to push her as this badass, yet you're still kind of kind
Well,
of
Robbie, do you agree with me with this statement I'm about to make? Because Maria Shafir is a badass. Let's not make any qualms about this. She's a real badass, right? UFC person. She is a real badass. I think if they allowed her to do her own thing instead of pushing these and put her in these dumb gimmicky shit to try to make her look like a badass, I think that she would actually come off as a badass if they said, do your thing in the ring, right? Feed her some local talents. Do it that way. I think that she'd have a better chance of coming across as the badass.
So basically, do to her what we've said they need to do with Jade Cargill and
Yes.
WWE. Just feed her locals to whoop on, and and then all the basement dwellers can go. They're just copying what they're doing with Jade Cargill, the WWE.
Right.
You can't win with how to book Marina Shafir, because if you book her as a badass, they're going to compare to Jade, and if you book her the way they're booking her now, they're going to go, "Oh, she's not a badass like they want her to be."
Well, you know what?
Can't win with Marina, unfortunately, right now.
But this is the thing. This is the thing. It's a good damn fucking reason why my opinions in his podcast is not done around those fucking basement dwellers. I am not Tony Khan, and I am not Paul Levesque that worries about that shit. I don't give a damn. I think wrestling, honestly, would be a little better if they stopped worrying about the internet wrestling community, in my opinion.
Oh, I totally agree on that. But I mean, and also she's like the promo she cut for this match. She was very good on that promo. So you could give her more mic time and stuff like that, because she's actually very good on the mic. If you let her, like the promo she cut for this, she was good. Like you're saying, let her go ahead and be that badass she is. Even on the promo that she cut was great to me, was good. Right.
Next is, and I think this is the match you're talking about, that I will agree. It's probably tied with in my opinion, for myself, the worst match of the night, which was the Trios non-title. Now, before we go there, of course, we had that backstage segment where Adam Page is passing the Dark Order, and they grab him. I think it was Alex that grabbed him and said, don't do anything to fuck this up for us. If we beat them, we'll actually be able to have a title match for the triple title, whatever the fuck they call it. And Adam Page promised, I won't, but as soon as this match is over with, they're mine. Then, of course, the Dark Order supposed to get their ass kicked even before they get to the ring. The Dark Order versus the Ops, Hook, Powerhouse Hobbs, and Shibata. This match left a lot to be desired. And even after the match, in my opinion, with Adam Page showing up, just didn't do anything for me. Robbie, what are your thoughts?
I totally agree with you. You knew who when you knew who they were going against, you knew who was going to win, so you knew it was going to be the Ops. It just that whole everything from back in the locker room to the whole thing afterwards. It just wasn't good.
Right. What say you, Grizzle?
Well, now we know where Dark Order's been. They just moved him over to Ring of Honor. I didn't realize that. I thought they just kind of went, all right, they're not on TV. No, this match was by far the worst match tonight. It was horrible. Not a good match. It's just not. It wasn't. I was never a fan of Dark Order, because at that point in time, they were what I thought Don Callis' family is now. Way too many guys that were just throw them out there. I liked the one 10 Preston Vance. I liked him. They had a couple, but for the most part, the Dark Order. So as soon as I heard Dark Order versus the Ops, I'm like, boy. And then the whole thing with Adam Page after the bell, I'm like, okay, they're gonna win. Here comes Adam Page. And this is what I was talking about when we discussed Adam Page. What did the fans do when he came out? Cheered. What did they do when he said, I'm gonna get my hands on Hook? They cheered. What did they do when he said, I'm coming back for my belt? they cheered because the fans love to see Adam Page chasing whoever. But once they get it, they go, okay, whatever. And they're doing it again. The fans are like, yeah, he's going to get Hook. Yeah, he's going to get the belt back. And if he gets the belt back, oh, okay.
But this is the thing, Grizzle.
They're doing it again.
These are the same fans that during this match, they were chanting Eva Uno. Why?
Well, that too. Yeah. This match was just, no. If they beat them, then they get a shot at the trios title, which means Samoa Joe has to wrestle. If I were Samoa Joe, I would have been telling my boys, you better beat their. I don't want to be in the ring with these clowns.
Right. Now, one thing. So he came out with the chain, and we seen Hook kind of haul ass before even Adam Page got to the ring. Would this be fair to say that, yeah, we've seen Hook in fairly small little storylines, but this is probably the biggest storyline Hook is now involved with directly with Adam Page since Hook has been on AEW?
Yes. Before that, his biggest storyline was with Samoa
Joe.
No. The whole series he had, they were trading back the belt. It was the
the FTR belt. Yeah,
Jack Perry when
Jack
they were
Perry.
Jungle Boy when he was
Right,
the evil guy
right.
when they were trading back that FTW title.
Right.
So that was the biggest thing because there was a title and him and F kept going back and forth. So yeah, this is the biggest thing that he's been involved in.
Yeah, Robbie, your thoughts of the match, and what are your thoughts on this whole Adam Page and Hook thing, man? Should this be a short storyline, or this is a storyline you think that they can build and kind of make it a long-term storyline because it's going to just keep the fans' attention?
God, I hope not.
Well, all right, and probably will if Cook was here, but I don't see the attraction to Hook. I mean, I'm sorry, I don't. I know he's Taz's kid. I don't see that, the attraction. Maybe he might have been a great, high school wrestler, whatever. I don't see it. I mean, so I have to agree with the vet and say, God, I hope not, that it's not a drawn out thing. He's, his promo skills to me aren't that good. I don't think he's that good on the mic. He's a good worker, just not invested in him for, whatever reasons. It just, I hope it's not a long thing with him and Adam Page.
Right. Yep. By the way, the commentary did say that immediately after AEW went off air, that you were able to catch an interview with Hook talking about why he did what he did on YouTube. Guys, we're not going to go into it, but if you guys want to watch it, go to Get Your Bell Pro Wrestling Podcast on Facebook. I have the video up.
Yeah. The problem with Hook is when he first showed up, you're kind of interested in, but I liked him when he first showed up. He came to the ring. He was quiet. When they would do the ring introductions, he'd be sitting in the turnbuckle facing away from everybody. He didn't talk. Then they started having him do the promos. And then when they had Hookhausen for that brief period of time.
Him and the fucking potato chips.
That kind of ruined him. I love Danhausen, but Danhausen is a gimmick wrestler. We all know this. Nothing wrong with that. But pairing him up with Hook was just bad. And they just never have really gotten back on track with Hook. And unfortunately, I mean, maybe they can now if he's with the Ops, but they kind of lost him when they put him with Danhausen.
Yeah.
And they took him away from being the quiet kind of guy that would just go in there and just, like his dad, go in there, toss you around, slap on the, red or whatever, and red rum and call it good.
I think in order for me to take Hook serious as this threatening guy, he needs to gain quite a bit of weight and have some muscle added onto him. Next was the main event, the Continental Classic Blue League, Jon Moxley versus Claudio Castagnoli. The main event. Now, this is the thing with this match. Do I consider this the best match tonight? I don't. I said what was my favorite match, but I like the story they told in the ring, which was Moxley is the leader of the Death Riders, but he's been disappointing. And here is Claudio that is saying, I am good as you, if not better, basically. That's the story that I saw in the ring. It was a decent match. No shocker that there was color in the match. Ultimately, Claudio got the win, and then immediately after the match, you seen John Moxley out on the floor, kind of sitting down with this look of disappointment on his face. You seen a couple of the guys go and give him knocks, but they really went kind of to Claudio, congratulating him. Did I completely misread the story in this match? Because I feel like what we're seeing, or what we're going to see, is the Death Riders turn on Moxley. Start with you, Robbie.
Good match. We could have done, with Moxley without the color. Really, every time you work, you got color, Moxley. It's just overkill. It's just overkill, Good match though, back and forth. Yeah, kind of. But I'm gonna throw a spoiler out and say, because you're kind of leaning towards now, they may say, okay, Claudio's the guy that's gonna be the leader. I think you're gonna get a shocker, and they'll turn on Moxley, and the guy that's going to come out and lead them will be Karrion Kross.
Wow.
So that was thrown to me from my last tag team partner, Keith. So he said he thinks that he agrees that they're going to turn on Moxley, but he thinks that, and I wouldn't put it past to see that, because his contract's got to be up with WWE. I know he's been on the indie circuit, and I could see AEW bringing him in to do,
right.
He kind of would fit in that role.
See, and that's where I disagree with you. I think this would be a bad fit for Karrion Kross. I think that it would look weird just because he's just, I don't know. To me, his style is not even close to what the Death Riders are. But who knows? Again, that's just my opinion. Was your thoughts on this match? Your thoughts on what I read storyline, the story they were saying, during this match, and also your thoughts on what Robbie just said.
I liked the match. I thought it was decent. Was it the best one? No, we've obviously gone over that one. Match itself was good. I missed the finish because my DVR cut off, so I had to go do the HBO Max and then fast forward to the end to catch it. So I like the end. Yes, they're going to turn. That's just kind of obvious. Moxley just keeps losing, keeps tapping out, and he keeps losing. Yes, they're going to toss him. They're going to get a new leader. Is it Karrion Kross? I don't know, because I don't think Karrion Kross needs to be a leader of the Death Riders. Now there will be a leader.
Let me bring one point out. Last night, the fans were actually behind Moxley, which surprised me. They were chanting Moxley, and that really surprised me. I thought that they would actually be chanting for Claudio. So they're ready. I think that the turn, it's ready to be done because they already have the crowd chanting for the guy that they're going to get behind if this does happen.
And soon we'll hear Wild Thing playing over the intercom, the speakers again, because that's what the fans want to hear. Yeah. I do agree with Robbie on one thing now. Moxley doesn't have to bleed every goddamn match.
Right.
We don't need blood every week, dude. But no matter what, every match he's got to bleed. Doesn't have to be a hardcore match. It can be a scientific wrestling match. Yeah. This wasn't a hardcore match.
No.
Still blood. He doesn't need to bleed all the time. But that goes back to that, he thinks that's what the fans want to see, so that's what he's going to do. Well, we don't need to see that. Not all of us want to see it. Stop doing it.
Right.
Because then when it actually does make sense and would mean something, you're going, oh, fuck, he's bleeding again. God
right.
Damn. Okay, whatever.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. Yeah, that's pretty much AEW last night. I would give it a B minus. Robbie?
I give it a C.
Grizzle?
I'm gonna go with you and give it a B minus.
Yeah.
I think it was decent enough. I think there was enough good stuff to kind of override the bad. You know, mainly that overrode the trios match. There was enough good in it. You know, I thought the ladies tag match was decent. I thought the two earlier matches were good. Obviously, you thought Fletcher and Kevin Knight was the best one. I went with Okada and you know, so but you know, overall, definitely the good outweighed the bad on this one. I was a little worried because the last week's show was just absolute. We didn't even talk about it because it was Thanksgiving, but the show was garbage. I actually went, I don't have to watch this, and I turned it off.
Yeah, look, I'll be honest. This was actually
probably
probably
grade to a B minus. Guy, you know, there were more that outweighed the good that outweighed the bad.
Yeah, I would dare to say this was probably one of the best Dynamites in the past month. And although I normally don't do this, I'm going to compare it to Monday Night Raw. I think that Dynamite was actually better than Raw this past Monday. This past Monday Night Raw was just not, you know, we talked about in the podcast. It was just kind of blah, especially considering, you know, Triple H was like, it's going to be epic. Well, for me, it wasn't epic. I prefer Dynamite over Raw, which is a rarity because normally Raw and SmackDown just has just a better product as far as the, you know, production of the show and how big it feels. But yeah, I mean, this week
I thought Raw was decent. Actually, I enjoyed it. It was one of the times that I've actually, you know, watched it from beginning to end, and part of that kind of made it enjoyable for me. And you guys might disagree with this.
Right?
I expected the finals on SmackDown for the tournament was going to be Jay versus Gunther one more time.
Right.
And I'm like, okay. So they gave it to LA Knight. I'm like, oh, a little surprised, you know. So that was kind of a kick for me, you know. And I thought, you know, Gunther and Solo was far better than I think anybody.
Oh yeah,
expected that match to be.
100%.
I actually enjoyed Raw. I actually watched the whole.
Robbie and I said the same thing, that we actually, you know, it was much better than what we thought that it was going to be. But this is the time of the podcast where I turn over the mic to the Grizzled Vet.
Degrees.
To talk about a little bit of, you know, things that happened in the history of professional wrestling.
We're just going to do it. Normally, I got busy, holidays, work, everything else. I didn't have a topic this week, although KG thought I mentioned Edge. I did not mention Edge. You know, but I kind of went back. I went and looked up some, you know, what's happened this week in wrestling history. And there were a few fun ones that came up. I'm going off the Today in Pro Wrestling History Facebook page. I'll give them their little plug. But we're going to go with, one, you know, the infamous Vince McMahon Kiss My Ass Club came to an end. This was the final. And we all remember that's because, you know, Vince kissed Rikishi's, you know, derriere.
I did it for The Rock.
Yeah, I do it for The Rock, people. You know, 16 years ago this week, Umaga passed away at the age of 36. Very sad at that point in time because Umaga at that time was going to be a main event. He was going to be a world champion. He had to be. That guy, when they brought him back, you know, after doing 3-minute warning, they brought him back. He was unstoppable, you know, absolutely amazing. You know, so, you know, very tragic. We lost him at the time. Also born this week in 1947, Killer Tim Brooks. You know, I've actually met Killer Tim Brooks. Got a chance. We're talking CAC. You know, you want to talk a little CAC? I'll tell you a story here. It's my first one, 2006, and we're meeting people. You know, and I've met people that day. Second day of the event, my buddy Joe, Susan, and I, we go down to the buffet. We're gonna get some breakfast. So we walk in. Killer Tim Brooks sitting at the table. One of the guys that was with him got up and they left. I told my friend Joe mentioned about it. And I'm like, hey, well, why don't we see if we could join him? I'm like, what the fuck? Let's sit and see if we can have breakfast with Killer Tim Brooks. So we asked him, he goes, oh yeah, have a seat. So we went and got food, sat down, and he kind of told us some stories for like 15, 20 minutes, told us this great story. This is during breakfast, by the way. Tells us this great story about Roddy Piper comes up to him, right? And Roddy Piper has a little something on his junk, we'll say. And Killer Tim Brooks knew what it was. And he said, I took a hot needle and I lanced it, whatever, because he knew it was from a girl, because Brooks had been with her previously and had the same issue. And this is the story that Killer Tim Brooks is telling us during breakfast. I'm like, got the scrambled eggs going, yum. Okay. But, I got to meet him, out here in Texas. I got to talk to him a few times. Got to know his daughter really well. And, Killer Tim Brooks was a legend, in right. Texas, Oregon. I mean, that man was just a legend. So, when we lost him, that was a sad one here. But, yeah, he was his birthday, born on this day, 1947. 33 years ago this week, Andre the Giant stepped into the ring for the final time. In an All Japan Pro Wrestling six-man tag team match, Andre teamed with Giant Baba and Risha Kimura to defeat Haruka Aiken, Masanobu Fuji, and Motoshi Okuma. Do not ask me if I said those names correctly.
Which, by the way, those of you who are watching, I actually just posted a funny story about Andre the Giant falling asleep while facing a Big John Studd. Check the story out on my Facebook. Get your bell rung, Pro Wrestling Podcast Facebook page.
I'll have to take a look at that because obviously I need some more material for the blog. So if anybody wants to go to getyourbellrung.blogspot.com, you can see some of the great KG Landry's writings all compiled right there in case you need something for scrolling when you're on the toilet or something. But it's all handheld. You can find it right there on your cell phone. I've actually edited a few stories. No, I'm just kidding. 34 years ago this week, WWF President Jack Tunney stripped Hulk Hogan of the WWF Championship after regaining it from The Undertaker at Tuesday in Texas. That obviously set up to where the Royal Rumble in the next year, that following January, was going to be for the title, which is where Ric Flair came in at number 3 and won the Royal Rumble to become the World Wrestling Federation champion. And the week before that, Undertaker had defeated Hulk Hogan for the title on his 1-year anniversary after the pile driver on the chair that the referee did not see. So they had a rematch 4 days, which was kind of different because they didn't do random pay-per-views. You had Survivor Series, you had WrestleMania, SummerSlam was there by then. Yeah, SummerSlam was there, but that was it. You only had the 3. I don't even think Rumble was there too. So they had the 4. You had your big 4. This was one of the first times they did an extra pay-per-view, and it was Tuesday in Texas. They did it 4 days later, and that's where you had the rematch with The Undertaker where Hogan regained the belt and all that, but then Jack Tunney stripped it, and like I said, led to the Royal Rumble with Ric Flair winning his first world title. 34 years ago this week, one of wrestling's most iconic betrayals took place at a WWF Superstars TV taping. On Brutus Beefcake's barbershop, the Rockers. Infamous split after Shawn Michaels super kicked Marty Jannetty and sent him face first through the plate glass door. Or window. Now we're talking John Moxley bleeding constantly. That was one of the first times you saw blood on Superstars. Jannetty bled on a syndicated television show that you could have seen at 11 o'clock in the morning. Now, granted, they edited, they pixeled, whatever, but he still bled. You didn't have blood on TV that much, so that was kind of a when you saw him like laying there and you hear Piper, oh my God, he's bleeding. And yeah, he's got the blood coming down his face. You're like, holy shit. And at that point in time, the Rockers were one of the top teams. Obviously, Shawn Michaels and him were having a little bit of tension. Shawn Michaels came out to the set. He's got the black leather jacket. You're like, okay, a little bit different. But, they hug it out. They're good. Nope. Super kick through the window. And then Shawn Michaels rips the WWF, magazine. Is any of this, refreshing your memory, Robbie? This is back in your era.
That one I don't remember.
Wow, this is one of the most memorable moments.
Right, I remember them splitting, but I don't remember seeing it.
Yeah,
I don't remember seeing it.
Yeah, you literally, if you were watching this, you watched the star that went on to become one of the greatest wrestlers of all time, one of the greatest entertainers of WrestleMania be born in front of our eyes. Shawn Michaels, of course. The interesting part was they were actually planning on doing something with Jannetty, a feud, but of course, with Jannetty back then, the issues happened and, it didn't go completely as planned, but nonetheless, HBK was born.
Nothing went as planned with Marty Jannetty. Big surprise. And it kind of brings up set, and I hate to look at it this way. When you talk about tag teams now splitting up, like, when people were teasing, the Street Profits possibly splitting up and things like that, you always bring up the one question: who's going to be the Jannetty of the team?
Yeah.
And it's kind of sad because Marty Jannetty, he was a decent wrestler. Now granted, made some questionable decisions over the years. He's like the only person that backed up Bret Hart on that Shawn and Vince were lovers storyline. And if Marty Jannetty is your only backup, Bret, shut up. That's all I got to say.
Right now, Marty Jannetty and he's a famous big time Hannibal, is something went wrong with their relationship, and they're like, Marty has been posting all kinds of shit about him on social media. It's been kind of entertaining, actually.
Oh, I'll have to go look because I I doubt he's watching our show. Have you ever met Hannibal?
I have no desire to.
I have.
No.
I have. He's been at CAC. That's where I met him. I can't stand the dude.
Yeah.
I can't stand Hannibal. You were part of an infamous role. Yeah, dude, you're reading right off a Wikipedia page asking your fucking question. But yet he gets all those views. Hannibal by far gives out some of the worst interviews I've ever seen.
Because
he did one with Wild Bill Irwin, where Wild Bill Irwin was so drunk, and Hannibal just kept feeding him, just like poking the bear to get him to act up. And it is so sad to see Bill Irwin just falling for it like a little fucking puppet. And that dick is
the whole reason why I have said, to my guest that comes on, that I try to be different than other podcasts as far as interviewing, as in I want to have more of a positive, fun type experience versus what people like Hannibal does, which is kind of the shock. He tries to find the dirt and all the mistakes that they've made throughout the years, and he goes at it with them. And I try to be completely opposite of Hannibal. And when I decided to do this interview or to do this podcast and do interviews, he's exactly who I was thinking about when I said, who do I want to be opposite than? And it's him. And some people will say, well, he gets all the views. He does, but it doesn't mean that I want to be like him, because
that's because people want the dirt. And like I told Robbie when he comes on our show, finally, we're not digging for dirt. I'm not looking through his book going, all right, where's the prostitute that he slept with in Florida and had the coke run with? I don't want to know that stuff. I want to talk about his time in WCW. I want to talk about stuff he did with ECW. I want to talk about, how he got into the business. What's he doing now? That type of stuff. Yes, I'm giving away the interview right now, what I'm going to do. Be prepared, Robbie. You kind of get an idea where I'm going here. I don't want the dirt. Glenn and I don't want the dirt. Unfortunately, we have kind of jumped on a bandwagon a couple times and talked to some people about an incident was going on, and it just kind of blew up on our face. So we don't. We have fun with it. That's why I like doing this show. It's something fun. I don't like Hannibal. I don't like him personally. He did a show out here in Texas. Remember the referee? The one where he stabbed him in the head with a spike? That's Lando. I know Lando. Lando's a referee here in the Texas area. I was supposed to be at that show that night, but I wasn't able to go. I had to work at the last minute. Or I was going to be there to witness all that shit.
Yeah.
And then he said, I told him I wanted a referee that could bleed. What referee's going to go? I'll bleed for you. I can bleed.
Right.
Idiot.
Yeah. I've had guests ask me, are you going to send me the questions before the interview? And I know why they ask. They're concerned about, being shitty. And, I've always said, look, I prefer it organic. I said, but you have my word that I'm not going to surprise you with any crappy stuff. And actually, Robbie just witnessed with an interview that I just did that even before the cameras are on, while doing my research, if I do find anything, I actually ask them first, hey, can we talk about this, or do you prefer completely stay away from it? And I honor what they say, because I always tell my guests as well, I want you to feel like you are in my home, and I want to treat you like you're in my home as a guest. I don't want to blindside anybody with anything, because I think it's bullshit.
See, that's one of the things I learned, and we're going off a total rant here instead of doing history stuff. But that's one of the things I learned because when I originally did interviews, we would do, like I said, how you got into the business, what's your opinions, do you watch current products, stuff like that. Those are the type of interviews I do. Never even thought about, asking the dirt questions and all that.
Right.
Until one time we were doing an interview with Madman Pondo. You ever seen Madman Pondo?
Yes, I actually just saw him at a show probably 3 weeks ago. We did Python Pete and I did we did the commentary.
Uh-huh.
I want to say I think the promotion was Heaven and Hell promotion or whatever.
Yeah.
He was the semi-main event, so it was Madman Pondo and God, I don't remember the kid's name or the guy's name. It was a deathcore match,
Well, that's what he does. If you ever get a chance to read his book is great.
Okay.
The book he wrote is so great with so many great stories, but he was coming on to promote it. Before he did the interview, he messaged me. He said, "Okay, hey, buddy, we're going to promote the book." I said, "Yeah, we'll talk about the book." He said, "All right, I'm cool. Don't ask me any questions about," and he mentioned this one female wrestler that he was in a relationship with. He didn't want to talk about that. I said, "Okay." I didn't even know they were in this. So I'm like, "All right, no problem." And I didn't even think about that. And then that got to the point where anywhere after that, I turned into what I refer to as what I learned from Pondo. Is there anything you don't want to talk about? Is there anything you do want to talk about? Where would you like me to? And that's kind of the style I go with now.
Right.
I always kind of double check, and I never go for the dirt, but I always ask him, is there something specific you want to talk about? Is there something you'd rather not talk about? I had Barbara Goodish on my show a couple years ago, or a few years ago. At no point in time did we talk about Brody in Puerto Rico. Why? Because we've all heard the story, and I'm not going to ask her that because that's a really hard part of her life. And Barbara is a wonderful woman.
She is.
You want the dirt about what happened with Brody in Puerto Rico? Go watch every other shoot interview that's ever been fucking.
Same thing, man. Same thing when she was on my show. I'd met her actually at FanFest. Wonderful, wonderful lady, and it was the same thing. Didn't discuss about Puerto Rico because. Why? It's already been discussed over and over and over again. So, yep, I completely agree. I don't understand people who say that they grew up idolizing someone or they're a big fan of someone and they want them to come on the show just to get, dirt. It doesn't make sense to me. But nonetheless.
I'm a complete nerd. This is going to sound so bad. I want to interview Fred Ottman. I want Fred Ottman on my show. And Fred, if you're listening to this, I want you to come on Wrestling Memories. You did it once. Come on again. Just because I want to ask him, can I hear your side of the story? What happened with your debut as the Shockmaster? Is that dirt? No. That's just the wrestling geek in me that wants to hear from the guy. What the actually happened? Tell me. I know the story, but I want to hear it from him.
Well, I mean, Fred talks about it on his Facebook page. He makes fun of it, actually.
He does, so, but I think it'll be fun to hear from him. I'm kind of a nerd that way.
Well, who knows him well is Bob.
Yeah, so Fred, according to Bob, he doesn't do hardly any more podcasts or interviews.
Oh, really?
That's what I've been told. Yeah.
Yep.
Because everybody asks the same questions. There's nothing more they can. Right. If he ever wrote a book, I might be able to get him to come on and promote a book or something like that, maybe.
Right.
But
I mean, I've hung with Fred a few times and stuff. Super guy, great guy.
Yeah. Dude, every year when I post up pictures of my kids for their birthdays, there's always Fred Ottman. Happy birthday, youngin' or whatever. That's Fred.
Same
I'm
thing.
friends with him on Facebook.
Yeah, just super nice guy, down to earth. So at one time I guess he might have been out of Tampa or whatever. Or might have been with Frankie Reyes. They used to run shows down here, like out
he wrestled in Florida. That's where he kind of started because he was
right. But
what was it, Big Steel Man or whatever?
Yeah, I'm not sure.
I think that was his gimmick in Florida was Big Steel Man. He feuded with Dusty.
But we had a dog track here, and they would run them. They ran the shows out of the dog track, so we'd go all the time. I think. I'm not sure if Robbie wrestled on there or not, but I'm not sure. But we went all the time every Sunday when they would run. So, I'd hang out with Fred and stuff like that.
Right.
Yeah,
Anything else in history, Bizzle?
interview style. I'm a nerd. I had Bruce Pritchard on a show one time, and we got to interview with him. And I asked my co-host beforehand. I said, "Can I ask him this?" And he asked Bruce, and Bruce said, "Yeah." And I told him, I said, "Bruce, I said this is just for the kid in me that grew up in the '80s watching it." And he starts laughing. I'm like, "Can I talk to Brother Love for a second?" And Bruce just did the and I'm on the other end. It's like, because it was over a phone. I'm just like,
Yeah. So I've never got to interview Bruce, but I was able to interview his brother, Dr. Pritchard, and great guy.
Yeah, CAC, right? Yeah,
Yep,
that's
CAC.
one of the videos where I saw you. That's how I first kind of found out about you, was through all your CAC stuff.
Yep.
But anyway, back to history. We're gonna go one more just to have some fun here. 19 years ago, yesterday, 19 years ago, WWE presented their lowest bought pay-per-view of all time, ECW's December to Dismember. It had 90,000 purchases, which would be the lowest buy rate in WWE history until the introduction of the WWE Network. Which obviously then, because nobody was buying it because they were free. Only 90,000 people, homes, bought this pay-per-view. Because we've all said, ECW, you're like, okay, they had a hit with One Night Stand. Everybody loved One Night Stand. That is still one of the greatest shows they've done. Then they did the second one where you had Rob Van Dam and John Cena, where they said if Cena wins, we riot. Rob Van Dam won the WWF title. Rob Van Dam had, the ECW title, but unfortunately, due to, a little, issue, he lost both his belts like 2 weeks later. But the ECW experiment with the WWE was horrible because it ran on Sci-Fi. And if you remember, do you remember the first show? Did you watch the debut episode?
Yes.
When they had the zombie come out, they had a zombie because it was Sci-Fi. So they were tying it in with Sci-Fi. So they had the zombie. You had Kevin Fertig playing, I can't think. He was Kevin Thorne. He was the vampire character.
Yep.
And so there was a vampire. You had a zombie. This was not ECW. No. And then eventually Kurt Angle showed up on the show. Big Show showed up. Big Show was the ECW champion. On this show, though, and we'll talk about here, in the main event, live from Augusta, Georgia, Bobby Lashley won the ECW title. So Bobby Lashley is an ECW champion in an Extreme Elimination Chamber. Also in the match, defending EC champ, The Big Show, Rob Van Dam, Test, Hardcore Holly, and CM Punk. By this point in time, it was everybody WWE that they threw in ECW because they had some ECW talent when the rebranding started. But by the time of this pay-per-view, it was just a card full of it was just a third show for WWE. And if you remember the Elimination Chamber match, it had the weapons hanging from chains inside. So you had a bat, you had a chair. Freaking horrible. I think the show ended like after a little over 2 hours. Like they cut it short. They didn't even have a card. They literally, you had the Extreme Elimination Chamber and I think one other match, and then they just kind of went, and now we have this match, and now we have this match, and this. I've seen the pay-per-view. I didn't order it at the time. I watched it on Peacock, but it's god awful.
I think that, back then, if WWE would have just been the money people and they would have brought in as many originals as they can and allow Paul Heyman to actually be in charge of it, I think that ECW could potentially maybe even still be around today. But instead, WWE-nized it, as I said. And
yeah, and this was after that show was over. It says right here, Paul Heyman was sent home due to slumping ratings and unhappy wrestlers. This is when Heyman got cut, and then he came back later, obviously. But just look at the rest of this show, though. The Hardy Boys defeated Eminem, Joey Mercury, and Johnny Nitro. Balls Mahoney defeated Matt Striker in a Striker's Rules match. And Matt Striker was a freaking gimmick, he was a teacher. So I don't know what his rules were. I don't even remember what the rules were. Elijah Burke and Sylvester Turkey defeated the FBI. So there's a little ECW tie. Daivari defeated Tommy Dreamer. Kevin Thorne and Ariel defeated Mike Knox and Kelly Kelly. The only matches that were advertised were the Extreme Elimination Chamber and the Hardy Boys versus Eminem. Everything else you found out when you didn't even know. There was no match lineup before the show or nothing. You had to wait until the match started to see who was coming out to wrestle next.
That's history. What happened today?
Good and bad.
Yep, good and bad. Guys, tomorrow night we will be on 30 minutes right after SmackDown goes off air. So please subscribe to the podcast. Don't forget you can check us out on ECUSA TV. You can find that on Roku, Fire Stick, Apple, and as well coming up on December 8th, I have Malibu, who from the Gladiators, he is now involved with Veterans Pro Wrestling. On the 10th, I have a very good friend of mine, Joe Helms. He's going to be on. And speaking of Veterans Pro Wrestling, I am going to have Angela Orsini on the podcast. That is Saturday the 13th, guys. So I have some pretty good guests coming on. Matter of fact, Joe Malenko is going to be on the 15th, which is a Monday. So again, subscribe to the podcast. I have some good guests coming on. Robbie, anything going on, man?
If you, January 17th, TWA, their final studio show. Card subject to change. So unfortunately, but yes, but that'll be the last show at the TWA studio. January 17th.
There you go. And guys, don't forget to buy Robbie Idol's book. It is a great book. It's an amazing read. You can find it on Kindle. The name of the book is...
and I got one more plug. This Saturday, I'm going to be on the Grizzled Vet in doing his radio show. So he's going to do it. He said he's going to dig up the dirt on Robbie Idol.
I'm going to scour. I'm going to find out about the cocaine and the hookers.
No, the most hardcore thing you're going to find out about him, and of course you probably read the book so you know, is his Tylenol intake for months at a time of 25 per day. Yeah, crazy shit.
I did read the book.
Want to say
it was a very good book. Robbie, you need to write a second one because I know you got to have more stories than what you fit into, the 100-something pages.
Right.
And also one other thing, guys, on tomorrow, if you are in the Minnesota area or the surrounding areas of Minnesota, there is a Mistletoe Mania happen at 7 p.m. It is at the Arcade Fallon American Legion, post 577. Again, on December 5th, it is an annual Christmas event. That's going to be an awesome show, guys.
I love wrestling events at Christmas time.
Yeah.
Mistletoe Mania, though, I think might be the best one I've ever heard. Usually it's Seasons Beatings or Holiday Havoc. I like Mistletoe Mania, though. They get thumbs up on that one.
Well, you know what? And I just wrote a story, actually, talking about how professional wrestling and Christmas go hand in hand. There's a lot of history. Yep, I was going to say you can catch it on our blog or you can catch it on our Facebook page. You get your bell rung. Pro Wrestling Podcast. Grizzle Vet. What you got to plug, man?
Robbie plugged it for me. This Sunday, 12 p.m. Central Standard Time, Pioneer 90.1 KSRQ. Search for us on the TuneIn Radio app or download the Pioneer Community Radio app or stream it live at radionorthland.org. Barring any technical difficulties, but I think I got Robbie all set up. Robbie Idol will be our guest this weekend. So, like I said, cocaine, hookers, and wrestling. We're gonna do this.
I'll have to break out the shirt because I do have that shirt. It says steroids, cocaine, and hookers.
Well, this is radio, so no one will see it.
I know, right? But I said I'll have to break it out for tomorrow night. I'll tell you a funny story about that shirt.
So guys, again, please subscribe to the podcast. Don't forget, we will be on tomorrow night. It's going to be myself, Robbie, and the Grizzle Vet on 30 minutes after SmackDown goes off air. We're going to talk about what we like, what we didn't like, and what we loved. And also, Bob Cook, get better, my friend. We all love you over here. We already miss you. Until tomorrow night, you guys have a good one.
See ya.